welcome to Faith on Film, a program designed to keep you informed and aware of everything that's happening in the world of faith and family films. Now, I'm very excited because today, as you notice, I'm not on my usual set. And not only that, my guest is not via Skype. She's right here, Holly.
Yay!
We are here together. This is
I love this set. I love this set. This is great.
It's actually one of my family rooms in the house.
I love it. And hey,
I want to make it a permanent, but my wife said this is my house, not a studio. So
well, it's working well. I love this.
Let's pray about that.
Yes.
Well, anyway, you know what? I worked for Paul for many years, Paul Crouch, and one of the things that he used to do was. He would literally, even if he got all excited and started talking to his guest, at some point he would say, but let me give you a proper introduction. So
okay.
I'm about to give you a proper introduction.
All right.
Now, Holly McClure is a multimedia personality with over 20 years experience in the entertainment industry. Her extensive background as a film critic, media consultant, filmographer, film and television producer, and author has made her a recognized name and advocate for family-friendly entertainment and the faith-based community. Her zeal for the film industry and her creative passion led her to produce and direct behind-the-scenes materials for films like The Passion of the Christ, The Passion Behind the Passion, that's a lot of passion happening here, The Frontier Boys, House, One Night with the King, 3, Midnight Clear, The Visitation, and Hangman's Purse. Okay, it's official. You are officially introduced.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on my program.
And I love being here with you. We've known each other for years and have worked a lot, talked a lot about doing a show on the entertainment on this community. So I'm glad to finally be with you.
But this show is all about trying to connect people to who you are. So let's find out a little bit about who you are. Most of my guests have wanted to have wanted to be part of Christian films since they were kids. What about you? What did you want to be when you were a kid?
Well, I was raised in a Christian home, so I didn't know anything different. I grew up with that all my life. But I was also raised with parents who loved movies and plays, and my mother who always inspired us to do things like that. And she would read poems to us and poetry and do plays and have us do little skits. And I remember when I was a kid taking, pretend microphones and having sisters shine the spotlight on you and announcing things and doing, interviews and doing things. When I was a kid, we were doing beauty pageants in the hallway. So it was kind of like I grew up doing that, but in those days, it's kind of you went to school to, do a legitimate job. And so I really didn't get into entertainment and the industry till I started doing commercials. I was already married, and I was working with different production companies doing Pampers and commercials like that, where I played the young mother role and behind the scenes and was extras in a movie like Silverado and other movies like that. So it was fun. I was at the time, I had an agent and doing voice work, but I thought, I want to know what goes on behind the camera. So I had a friend who was a production company in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and so went and visited, worked with him. He let me go on set and do different jobs. So I learned what a script, continuity person did. I realized what, every really position behind the camera, and I studied that because I wanted to know. And then I loved movies, and I started writing reviews and wrote for a small publication. Thought, I'll do this for parents with kids because this was about the time after the 86, after the PG-13 came out. And when I was in California, I started writing a column that was addressed to parents of kids, and it got picked up by the Orange County Register. I got syndicated and got a column in 365 papers around the country. And then a local radio station heard about it and said, hey, we'll come on and talk about it. I went on. She said, you're kind of good at this. You should do a radio show. So from there, the Holly on Hollywood got birthed. I was doing radio, writing my movie reviews, getting them syndicated, going to screenings, and really actively got into that. But enjoying the fact that while I was watching what movies are being made, I knew what was going on behind the scenes. And I feel that's a key important thing for people when you have a passion about something. Try to learn everything if you can, or at least be familiar with things about it so you understand why things are done a certain way.
Now, what's nice about what you do, though, is that it gives us as Christians kind of an insight on what is in the secular, the Hollywood movie, and that kind of keeps us informed. I love your tagline, choose your movies wisely.
Choose your movies wisely. And it is up to parents to choose. Right. And I don't always do things that are nicey, Christian, everything's perfect, because that's not what life is. So some, I'm not doing, hard R movies, but some movies have material in it the parents need to be aware of that's being pitched to your young child or your teenager.
Especially lately. And you need to know this is what's in it, here's what's good, what's bad, here, be aware so you can make the decision for your own children. Right. And yourself. with this pandemic thing that's been going on, have you seen like a sort of a shift in the families wanting to see maybe a different kind of movie, something that just kind of makes them feel better?
You know, the trends have been on Netflix and on those other where you can stream them. The trends have been family movies, interesting action, and of course it's age related. But I'm seeing a lot of the animated that were being pitched now come out, and family films are still very popular. Adventure, the sci-fi war, you know, those kind of things, stories are really popular. But it's hard for parents right now with kids, because I hear a lot of parents going, well, we've been all through the Disney movies, we've been all through the classics, we've been all through, you know, they're digging back, you know, even in looking at old classics like that. So I think everyone's really waiting for new films to come out and to get back in theaters. That's the movie experience.
Right.
You know, I think that's what everyone wants, and that's what the magic of Hollywood was to me. In fact, when I was on radio station in Los Angeles and doing movie reviews, and that was the magic people were talking about. What's going on in Hollywood, you know?
Yeah, I'm dying to go back to a theater. And interestingly enough, I built my own home theater. It's a nice, nice big old screen, and we have multiple levels of seats and everything. And I thought, you know what, I'm never going to need to go to a theater because I've got my own theater.
Right.
Wrong. There's something about just getting out of the house and going to see a movie in a theater.
I've always said,
that.
I missed it. And I've always said, people are like, oh, it's going to be taken over with streaming and home services. Well, no, because people want to go in the dark, surround yourself, be with other people, laugh and get scared and enjoy the experience. That's what people want. And that is the magic of good movies in Hollywood.
Well, it's like kitchens or eating.
Yes.
You know, we got our own kitchen here. My wife cooks really good.
Right.
I still got to get out to a restaurant
Right.
and have some dinner.
Right.
There's just something about the experience. Well,
Right.
I'll tell you what. Now, I know that all this eventually also led you to work with none other than Mel Gibson.
Yes.
So when we come back, we're going to take a little break right now. But when we come back, let's talk a little bit about that and see what that was like for you. All right?
All right.
Folks, we're going to be right back after these messages.
Encourage TV. Family-friendly and faith-friendly content absolutely free. Subscribe today and watch hundreds of hours of content on our streaming channels. Visit encouragetv.com today.
You know they say it's really big.
What's really big?
An Ozark, silly.
Oh, I know. It's bigger than the size of our house.
It's a little bigger than that.
Like the size of 2 houses. No, 2 houses and a spaceship. I bet it's even bigger than the castle.
Don't be ridiculous. That's impossible.
This summer, think bigger.
Only one university in the nation was chosen to demonstrate at the World Equestrian Games, and it's the only Christian university in the South offering an equine management major. Only one university produced the video leading into coverage for the Games, and it's the only university with students hired as part of a broadcast crew for 9 Olympic Games. One university, equipping students for a lifetime of leadership and service. Asbury University. Start here, impact the world.
Welcome back to Faith on Film. We are here with my friend Holly McClure. Holly, you're pretty much living my dream, I think. You got a chance to work with Mel Gibson on The Passion.
I did.
What happened? How did that come about?
I did. And I've met a lot of famous actors when I've interviewed for movies and don't get very starstruck, but Mel Gibson was one of those. And I got a call. It was in the summer of 2002. It was in August, and I got a call. And the voice on the other line was a woman that said, hello, is this Holly McClure? Yes. And, you're a movie critic, film critic, yes, da-da-da. Well, Mel Gibson would like to meet you in his office, and we would like to know if you can come tomorrow and meet with him. And I thought it was a girlfriend playing a joke on me. Like, yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, well, I'm not real busy. Let's see, tomorrow. Sure, I can, sure. And I'm laughing, and she goes, no, Mel Gibson really does want you to come. And so I was shocked. I'm like, okay, not believing, disbelieving. Went up the next day to Icon Studios in Santa Monica and walked in, and Steve McAvity, which is one of his production partners, was sitting there, and Mel was in his flannel shirt and work boots and jeans and said, hi, welcome to meet you, and just like what I envisioned it would be meeting him. Right. And he had the storyboard for The Passion, which at that time it was called The Passion, laid out on the table, and told me a little bit what it was going to be about, and this was a personal vision of his that he felt God gave to him to do this movie. He said, I'm using my own money. I'm not going to be financed by the studios, so it's kind of my own, love project. And he said, I'm getting crews to kind of do it minimally. We're going to go to Italy and film. And he was telling me all about it. He goes, it'll start with the moon, and the moon's going to be up, and Jesus is in the garden. And he literally laid out the whole film for me, and I'm in awe, pinching myself, going, Mel Gibson's sitting here laying out the whole movie for me. I was in awe.
Then you woke up.
And then, I'm like, this is just me. I wish I could take pictures. I wish I could record this, And then he told me that. We talked a little bit longer. It was a good hour and a half meeting, and took me into his office. I saw the Braveheart sword and all the things that, of course, I've been in love with for years from his movies. And then he said, I'm going to be going to Italy, and here's a script, and I'd like to get your feedback on it, and I'll call you in a couple weeks. And I took it and honestly went,
wow.
Okay, you want my feedback? He goes, yeah, I want to know what you think. And I said, but you're Mel Gibson. I mean, you won an Oscar directing Braveheart and writing, and I don't know what I can bring to it. He goes, well, just take a look at it and see what you think, and I'll call in a couple weeks. I said, thank you. Left thinking he'll never call me, but that was so neat to have that meeting. 2 weeks later, I get the call. Hi, Mel Gibson's on the line for you. Sure. He was calling from Italy, and basically said, Holly, I've been in Italy, and did you have a time to read the script? I said, yes, I did. And he goes, what'd you think? It's great. I know it's going to be in Aramaic, which it really needs to have subtitles. No, it's not going to have subtitles. People will know what it's about. And so we had a conversation, and I said, but Mel, if you have it in Aramaic, no one's going to understand what this story's about. They're not going to understand. He goes, yeah, everyone knows this story. I said, no, you don't understand. There's a lot of people who don't know what this story is in the Middle East and other places. This is the first time they're going to see this story. Yeah. And he goes, well, what do you suggest? I said, well, there's two things that are in there. One is you have this woman waking up with his mother. Is she a girlfriend? Is she a sister? Is she his wife? Who is she? He said, well, but it's Mary Magdalene. I said, but people don't know that. So it was interesting. He said, I never thought of that before. He goes, I've had this script for 8 years, and no one's ever told me that. And I said, well, you probably haven't had many women read it. He started laughing, and I said, but it's not that it was Mary Magdalene, but something that I think it's a common thing people think is the stoning of Mary, which it wasn't the same Mary, but I said, but people kind of think that was. He goes, I know what I can do. I'll draw a line in the sand with my finger, and I'll have a hand reach out, her hand reach out to my foot. So he described that scene. He goes, I can shoot that easily. I can shoot it right now before we begin main production. He said, Jim's not here, but I'll be in the outfit. And so he described that scene. So and that was the trailer and one of the main things. And I was like, yes. I said, you're going to need to do some flashbacks so people understand, what role she played. He goes, okay. So there's some scenes with Mary Magdalene, and she's included. And then I said, the other thing is you're only doing 12 hours. You're not going past the grave. We all know that Jesus on the beach after he had risen met the disciples and Peter and said, do you love me? Do you love me? 3 times. And gave Peter a chance to, because he had denied him 3 times, a chance to restore that. And I said, so you haven't given that? He goes, I know, I'll do it with a look. We'll be in there, and I'll do it with a look, where he looks over. So he included that scene too. So I felt really proud of the fact that, first of all, not about me, but that Mel Gibson is the kind of director and person who asked a nobody like me what I thought, and actually took the opinion and said okay. And that's the advice I give whenever I talk to directors and screenwriters and people is, you're never too big or too important to ask someone an opinion, and if it's a good one and if you think it will work with your project, to take that advice, because it changes it. you know?
And I'm sure he gave you equitable partnership in the movie, and you are now filthy rich, right?
And no.
No?
No. He had a partner, Bruce Davey, who is the, I probably shouldn't mention his name. Okay,
Don't say anything bad about him anymore.
Take that part out. But yeah, it was the other half that was not, you know, Mel went around asking everyone involved, will you do this for scale or below, because I'm making my own movie, and everyone was, and he had the greats, the greats working on special effects, FX, everything, especially over in Italy. And so everyone did it for that. Well, then after the movie made, you know, over $600 million and was the #1 movie, some of the people, not me, but some of the people went to him and said, hey, you know, how about a little kickback now, because we gave you a special fee and rate? And the answer was no, and it didn't come from Mel. It came from another person, his partner, and a lot of people were upset because they felt this is not fair. You know, we did everything we could to make this movie special, so I don't know. But Mel is a great guy. I saw him do Mass literally every day with an Orthodox priest. He couldn't find one in Rome. This is the ironic part. He couldn't find a priest in Rome that could do a Latin Mass, because at the time there was no Latin Mass in Rome. So he sent to Canada and had Father Fitzgerald flown over, and every day he would be in there doing a Mass, and every day, sometimes it was just Mel and I, and he'd say, you can watch, you know, but because you're Christian and, you know, you're not Catholic, you can't take the Eucharist, but you can watch. So every day we went in there, and I would go because I wanted to see what he went through. And it's funny because, like, Jesus would come in with a crown of thorns, and Judas would come in, and Peter, and all the people, they'd be in there in the makeup and full garb, you know, having communion with Mel. So it was interesting.
Next time you get a call from a big major producer like that, you got to bring me in as your manager, because I got to work out a better deal for you. My goodness. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to take another break. And then when we come back, I want to talk about something that you said that I found very interesting, and that is that he thought he was just doing this little film.
Yes.
It was probably just a real personal project for him, and then look what it turned out to be. So I want to deal on that a little bit. Folks, don't go away. We'll be right back.
You know, I never realized how much work goes into taking care of horses.
You think that's hard? Try taking care of thousands of animals at the same time.
Go ahead. Think bigger.
Just one life, a perfect life. And your heart starts beating hard. I'm gonna keep on dreaming. I wanna feel that love. I wanna get that feeling. I wanna get that feeling.
Christian filmmaking.
Have you ever considered being an actor or director of a major feature film? But what if God is calling you to do just that? Let this be your pulpit.
And you learn filmmaking on 2 backlots, a first-century backlot and a small-town backlot under the watchful eyes of Christian professional filmmakers like Dr. Mark Kuchin. So what are you waiting for?
469-655-3222. Transformation Film Institute, a place where passion meets purpose.
I wonder if penguins have knees. I wonder how many colors we can't see. I wonder why there's so many stars in the universe. I wonder if we ever looked like apes.
You want to find out?
I wonder if puppies have belly buttons.
Welcome back to Faith on Film. We're here talking with Holly McClure, who needs a better manager.
I do, actually.
Holly, you said something very interesting in our previous segment about how Mel really just thought of this as a little film that he was going to make. And this just kind of reminds me actually a little bit of like the kid with the fish and the loaves of bread who just had a little bit, and God just turned it into something huge. I mean, he fed multitudes with that.
Right.
And that's kind of what's happened to this film, is he thought it was just going to be a little film. I don't even know if he just thought he would show it to a few people. I don't know what was in his heart, but he thought of it as a little film. And look at the impact that it had.
He literally said to me, Holly, this is going to just be a labor of love project. It's not going to be big. And I said, well, I need to go shoot your behind the scenes and EPK interviews. And so I went to Rome, Italy for 2 months.
So you were there with him?
I was there with him. I went to Italy for 2 months and did behind the scenes and interviews. And he said, I don't know if I really even need that. I said, yes, you do, because this is going to be huge. And he goes, huge? How? And I go, this is going to be huge. It's beyond what you even know. This is going to be like a world-changing movie. And he said, no. I said, Mel, you have no idea. And I said, okay, people like Focus on the Family, Greg Laurie. Yeah, okay, great. Who's that? People like, not Focus on the Family, but Focus on the Family. And then I said, and then Greg Laurie, and then I named a couple of others who had big ministries. And he was like, okay, great, who's that? Every single ministry I named. And I finally said, you have no idea what I'm talking about, do you? And he said, no. He goes, I've been in Hollywood for 20 years. This is the world I know. That's why I ask you to come in, because you can speak to this other world. And I said, well, outside of the Catholic world that you know, there is a whole other huge Christian, media out there and world of ministries, and they're all going to want to be part of this. And it's going to be big. And he didn't have an idea until we were on set and he started seeing some of the press and the interest come in and people wanting to get involved and jumping on board. And then when he went back to start post-production, putting it all together, he realized this is going to be bigger than he knew it was going to be. So at that time he realized, okay. But at the very beginning, the first 5 months, no, he just thought, it's a little project I'm working on. God told me to do it. I'll do it, and it'll be done.
And that's interesting because sometimes, God chooses us not because of what we know.
Yes.
But it's because, first of all, he knows we're willing.
Yes.
And second, sometimes he knows is our tenacity. And I know, he was committed to doing it.
Yes.
But yet didn't really know the world that he was creating this movie for. So
he had no idea how big the Christian world was.
But he was obedient.
Yes.
And that's really what matters. And
right.
There's people, you're out there right now, maybe you feel like you don't know, what you feel God's calling for something, and you say, well, I'm not adequate enough for that. Doesn't matter. He'll make you adequate for what you need to do, but you just got to be obedient. I think that's the important part.
And he'll bring the funding. He'll bring the people. He'll bring
the people.
He'll bring the people. He'll open the door and he'll open a way. And people you never thought, how could I meet that person? He'll make it happen. God's done that so many times. I know in your life He's done it, Isaac. In my life, God's done that, and that's when you know it's God. When these perfect situations things just start coming in path and lining up, and you're like, okay, this is God. Because you know when it's done that way.
We look at Moses too. He was like, I can't do this. I stutter.
Right.
And he's the one that led the people out.
Right.
Very exciting. That's one thing I've learned is just be obedient. And that's why. And this has been since I was a kid. I grew up in the church, so it's been easy for me to learn how to hear God and just say, okay, if that's what you want me to do, that's what I'm going to do, and it's turned into great success for me. But there's more to you than just even, Mel Gibson and The Passion. You've become a producer. You've produced some of your own movies, I believe.
Produced a movie called The Frontier Boys, which I loved working on. I've done over dozens of behind the scenes for different movies where I've gone on set, Do You Believe? God's Not Dead, other movies like that where I've done the behind the scenes interviews. And I have a passion for making films today. I love doing the movie reviews. I'm still doing that and keeping in touch with Hollywood. But I also like branching out, and that's what I'm interested in doing now is producing some projects of my own. There are 2 or 3 now that I'm believing God for and believing how He's going to bring the finances and funding to do it. But I've seen God do it, so I know He can. And I'm really interested in doing that because it's important. Jesus told parables, and God used the parables to change lives. We've seen that in the Bible. That's what movies are. They're parables. And now more than ever, in today's climate more than ever, we need good stories that people can connect and relate with that'll change hearts, just like The Passion did.
Well, maybe there's somebody out there that'll say, oh, I want to fund one of her projects. I don't know. I always put it out there. Where could they reach you?
Okay, hollymcclure.com. Okay. You can go there, and it's in progress, my website, but I'm getting it restructured and redone to start getting out there and doing more work. I also have Holly on Hollywood on Facebook, so if you want to get in touch with me there, Holly McClure on Facebook as well. So there are several ways to find me, and please do Instagram. I'm on there as well. Okay. So I welcome people's questions, emails, comments, and if you want to talk to me about a project, I love hearing it too as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and McClureProductions@gmail.com if you want to email me. McClureProductions@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Folks, don't go away. We'll be right back.
Encourage TV. Family-friendly and faith-friendly content absolutely free. Subscribe today and watch hundreds of hours of content on our streaming channels. Visit encouragetv.com today.
Welcome back. We've come to the end of the show. Holly, I want to thank you for being with me today.
Thank you.
And you know what?
It went too fast.
I know. Well, I'll tell you what. Can you stick around for a second show?
Yes, I'd love to.
Because I want to do another show. We got more things to talk about of what's going on in Hollywood.
Let's
I do want to remind you, though, that if you want to write me, just simply go to faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. You can write me there. I really want to hear from you. That's faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. And, of course, I want to remind you that if you want to watch some great movies that are good for your soul, just go to parables.tv. So Parables is a place where you can watch all kinds of great movies, documentaries, reality shows, comedy shows, just a lot of great content for you and your family. So just simply go, and it's free, by the way. So just simply go to parables.tv. That's parables.tv. Well, remember, if you want to keep a good, healthy soul, you got to feed it some good, healthy entertainment. Till next week, take care.
I would say to the Christian filmmakers, look and see what's being streamed right now, and on the Apple and the other ones that are being offered. This is your palette. If you can't get through to a studio, this is your palette to work with. And I would think that brilliant ideas, maybe well done, maybe great storyboards, or even small short stories to tell your story. But this is a time when if you can come in with something current and relevant to what's going on right now, because I haven't seen a lot of things like that. I'm talking about really, reconciliation, and pulling people together. And I think that's a story that needs to be told.